Thank you for choosing Moto Nation for your RV rental needs. This is an overview orientation of our Gulfstream Conquest model 6314D, which we refer to as the Adventurer. This RV is built on the Ford E450 chassis. It's approximately 32 feet long, 11 feet 4 inches tall, and 9 foot 4 inches wide. Now I'm going to move down the driver's side of the vehicle and point out to you some of the features that you're going to want to know when you rent one of these vehicles. First, we have these hatches along the bottom, starting here with the battery box. This is a storage box. This is your generator cover. This door right here covers a propane valve, and you should never open it or mess with this. This is your water heater. Here you have your black tank flush and your city water connection. Underneath this cover, you have the outdoor shower connection with hot and cold water. Here you have your sewage access to empty your black and gray water tanks. This is where you fill the fuel. It takes 87 octane gasoline. This is your low point drain. This is your electrical receptacle for connecting to shore power. Your cable and satellite connector. Some campgrounds will offer cable and satellite. Now we don't offer a cable to go along with these, but if you are in a campground or RV park that has cable or satellite, then you can pick up one of these for connectors for pretty cheap, or sometimes you can get them from the RV park itself. And back here, we have storage. Around here to the rear of the RV, we have the roof maintenance access ladder. This is not for renter use. Do not use this ladder. A fall from this height could be fatal or cause serious injuries. We only use this for maintaining the equipment on the roof. Furthermore, there is a potential that you could fall through the roof. So once again, do not use this ladder. Each of our RVs is equipped with a spare tire. That is not for the renter to use to change a tire. That's for a repair crew or a tow company to utilize. Do not try to change the tire in these RVs. We don't even include a jack or any tools to change them because it's far too dangerous due to the weight and the way that you have to change the tire. So once again, do not try to change the tire. If you get a flat, reach out to roadside assistance or to tech support, and we'll figure a way to get you taken care of. On the passenger side, the 6314D Adventurer has some features that I'd like to point out as well. Starting up here at the front, this is your propane tank access. Behind this panel, you have a propane tank with a fill valve and also a gauge to determine how much propane is left in the tank. Here you have more storage underneath. This is the coach door for accessing the RV. Right here we have a 110 volt power receptacle. Moving back, we have two other storage compartments, but the thing that really sets the 6314D apart is this outdoor kitchen. Now the refrigerator only runs when you're connected to shore power or the generator is running. So don't load this refrigerator up with perishable food because it only runs when you're connected to shore power or the generator is running. This is the shore power electrical connection on the motorhome. To connect to shore power, you're going to take your supplied power cord, you're going to slide it into here, just like this, and twist it to the right to lock it in place. You can tighten down this exterior ring to get a nice solid seal. Next, you're going to run the cord over to the power pole that is at your campsite. You're going to make sure that the breaker on the power pole is switched to the off position. Then you are going to plug in your power cord to the power pole at the campsite and then flip the breaker into the on position. At that point, you should see a little light on top of this power cord glow blue. If it's not glowing blue, then it means that you don't have power supplied to the RV. This is the city water connection. This is where you are going to connect your RV to a campground water supply. This is not where you fill the RV freshwater tank. We have lots of renters that call us up and say, hey, we've been running the water into the city water connection for a half hour, but our tank on the inside of the RV isn't filling up. What's the problem? Well, the problem is you're using the wrong connection. This does not fill the freshwater tank. Now, whenever you're using a city water connection or connecting any hoses to the RV, you must use this pressure reducer. Now, each of the RVs is supplied with one, and all they do is screw in like this, and then you screw your hose into it like so. Once that is in place, then you are safe to turn on the water to the RV. A side note, if you do not have the pressure reducer in place, a lot of campgrounds run at very high water pressure, and the RV is only designed for a rather low pressure point. If you run too high pressure water into the RV, you will blow out all the seals inside the RV and it will start leaking everywhere. So do not install any hoses to the RV without them being connected to a pressure reducer valve. In order to use the water system on the RV, there are a couple steps you have to follow. Number one, if you're in an RV park or another area that has full hookups or has water hookups, and you've hooked up the city connection outside, then you don't need to follow the steps that I'm going to show you, because once you're hooked up to the city connection, that connection is live all the time. You don't need to turn on the pump. If you do not have a city connection and you are running off of the water that is in your onboard water tank, your freshwater tank, then you have to follow these steps. First, you want to verify that your freshwater tank has water. In this case, we've got 1/3 of a tank. Next, you're going to turn on your water pump. Now, when you do, you're going to listen for it to turn on. It's going to sound like a little thumping, and then it should stop once the line is pressurized. And you shouldn't hear it turn on again unless you turn on a faucet or unless you turn on the shower. If it doesn't stop, it means that there's a leak somewhere in the line. If you have running water somewhere and the pump is not turning on, then that does not mean that there's a leak from one of the pressurized lines. It means that there could be a leak from a drain, and you would have to address that differently than if the pump just continuously ran. Another reason that the pump could continuously run is if it's running out of water and it's picking up more air than water. That's a good indicator that your water tank is empty. So we're going to turn on the water pump. And in this case, because the line is already pressurized, you're not going to hear anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the kitchen sink. We're going to turn it to the cold, and we're just going to turn this on, and you're going to listen for the pump. Hopefully that comes through on the video. This tank is running low, so you have it sputtering. When I turn this off, you should hear the pump stop. When entering the RV, you're going to notice this red switch. This is the master power control for all the 12-volt systems inside the RV. In order to not drain the battery when the RV is not in use, we typically switch this to off. But when you're using the RV, before any of the systems on the inside of the RV that are connected to the battery will function, it must be turned to the on position. On the inside of the RV, typically above the door, you're going to have two things. One, you're going to have this control panel, and two, this cubby. Typically, you have a packet in here that has owner's manuals and instruction manuals for all the appliances inside of the RV. That's where to find that. You can typically find the RV registration in this as well. This is the control panel that operates all of the 12-volt functions on the RV. You have the awning lights, the step light, the porch light outside, the ceiling light, which controls most of the lights inside of the RV, the water heater, and the water pump. You also have the awning, in and out, the slides, 1 and slide 2. Up here, you have the gray water tank level, the black water tank level, the fresh water, and the battery level. To test these, you put your finger right here and press. This shows that the gray water is empty. The black water is empty. The fresh water is 1/3 full, and the battery is 2/3 full. Now, one thing about these sensors, they're not super accurate. So it may be that you press the black water tank and it shows that it's full, but you know that you haven't used it. It's likely not full. It's just getting a bad signal because something has gotten caught on the sensor. Okay? Same with the gray water. The fresh water is typically the most accurate because it doesn't have other debris in there, and the battery level is going to be very accurate. The other thing that you have is the generator starter and the generator hour meter. Now let's step inside and I'll show you the floor plan and some of the features of the 6314D Adventurer. Now moving forward, we have a sofa that converts into a bed, and we get questions all the time about how do you do this. It's very simple. All you're going to do is you're going to lift up on this end to about there, push down on the back, and let it fold flat. Okay? Now, be very careful once it's folded out like this because it doesn't sustain a whole lot of weight on this outer edge. So you want to be careful that you don't bend it. Now to put it back in, you're going to lift up, do the same thing, and lock it back in place. On this side, we have a dinette that also converts to a bed. Now, one thing about this dinette that I need to point out is in order to raise and lower it, you're going to swing this lever underneath to the unlock side, and you're going to gently push against the wall. We're going to demonstrate how this converts into a bed in just a moment. However, it's very important to remember, you should never sit, stand on, or put heavy items anywhere on this end of the table because you run the risk of tearing it off of the wall. And then you won't have a table for the rest of your trip and you'll have a very expensive repair bill. So once again, be very gentle with the table. Up front, we have the bunk above the cab. This is a full-size bunk. You're going to pull this back into place, and there is a ladder that is stored right here that you can pull out and lock into place. Now, a word about the ladder. These are typically meant for children. If an adult is going to use this ladder, they just need to be very careful. If you stand in the middle rung, you're going to bend it. So just be careful with the ladder, but particularly for kids to get up and down, this is the way to go. As we move towards the rear of the RV, we come to the stove and the oven. The microwave. RV stoves operate on propane. I'm going to demonstrate how this stove lights and how it operates. The first step that you need to do is you need to make sure that the propane is on, and you do that by going outside to the propane tank and checking that the valve is open. To turn the propane on, you turn this knob all the way counterclockwise until it stops. You don't want to stop in the middle. It's either all the way on or all the way off. Once you know that you have the propane on and the lines are pressurized, you're going to turn on the fan. You're going to listen for it to start. Now this fan helps to remove bad smells as well as propane gas and carbon monoxide. You never want to have the stove on without operating this fan. It's also a good idea to open up the window above the sink just to get a little bit better ventilation. You do that by pulling up here, flipping this up, and opening the window. Now that you've got plenty of ventilation, you come over to the stove, you turn the knob to high, and then you use the lighter to click. You go to the next one, lighter to click, and this one, lighter to click. They should start very quickly. If they don't, then what you're going to do is turn on the knob to high and listen to see if you can hear any air or gas. If you smell propane and you can hear it coming out when it's on high, but you cannot get it to light, you want to stop. You're going to leave the fan running, open up the window, possibly open up the door, let the RV air out for a few minutes before trying to light the stove again. Now before you want to light the stove again or attempt it, you're going to check that the spark jumps when you click the igniter. You're going to look underneath the upper lip of the burners and you're going to twist the igniter just like this. You should see a little blue spark jump from this steel rod right here over to the side of the burner. If you're not seeing that when you try to ignite, then you need to try to ignite it using a match or a cigarette lighter or some other means. You would turn on the stove and you would use a match or cigarette lighter to try to light it. If the stove lights, then you know that the igniter is malfunctioning. From that point on, just use a match or a cigarette lighter to utilize the stove and let us know when you come back. Each of our RVs is equipped with a refrigerator-freezer combo. They operate a little bit differently than the one that you're going to find in your house. They're not quite as powerful, but they're pretty efficient. Now ours all run on 12-volt power. The older model refrigerators used to run on propane, but now more and more RVs are making the switch to 12-volt because of the efficiency and the simplicity of these units. Now, primarily, the freezer freezes and the refrigerator pulls air from the freezer to cool to a little bit higher temperature than the freezer does. Now there is a setting inside the freezer, usually at the back, and this one here. It goes colder, closes off the vent and keeps the freezer colder. And if you turn it to cold, it opens the vent in the rear and lets more cold air go down into the refrigerator. Moving to the refrigerator, as you can see, there's ample room for a weekend. And these refrigerators are designed to keep your food cold and fresh for the duration of your trip, as long as you have 12-volt power, are hooked up to shore power at some point, running the engine or running the generator. That's all it takes to recharge the batteries on these refrigerators. Now the controls for the refrigerator are right here. 1 is for the warmest setting and 5 is for the coldest. You're going to change that by pressing the set button until you reach the temperature that you desire, and it should keep that. Now, if the light ever starts to blink or it keeps moving down to a lower setting, that is an indicator that you are running low on battery power, and at that point you should start the engine of the RV, you should start the generator, or you should connect to shore power to to recharge the batteries. This RV is equipped with 2 slides, one in the kitchen and living room area and one in the bedroom. Typically, slide out 1 is the one that is located closest to the front of the RV, and slide out 2 is the one back in the master bedroom. To put out the slides, it's very simple. There's just a couple steps that you need to follow. Number 1, before engaging the slide motors, you have to be sure that there are no obstructions outside of the RV. Sometimes water bottles or refill cups or luggage can fall behind these, and if they do, when you start to put the slide out, it can cause the slide to jump off of the track or crush whatever is going behind there. It's also a good idea to make sure there aren't any kids hiding behind these, because they could get crushed as well. Once you've double checked that there are no obstructions inside the RV, then you are going to go to the control panel and you're going to hit slide out. You're going to hear the slide moving out. It should be uniform, both sides at the same time. As the slide is almost fully extended, you will hear the motor change slightly in pitch. When it does, you let go of the button and you're fully deployed. When deploying the rear slide, it's the exact same process. You want to make sure that there is nothing blocking the outside of the vehicle and that nothing is blocking the inside. It's the same whether you're deploying or retracting the slide. You want to make sure that it's clear. Otherwise, it'll crush whatever's in the way or it'll throw it off the track. So once you're sure that there's nothing in the way and the path is clear, then you hit slide out and you follow the same process. This is going to go out. You're going to listen to the motor until you just hear it change pitch, and then you're going to immediately take your finger off the button. For retracting, you follow the same steps, only in reverse, and you press slide in to let it come in. Again, you're watching to make sure that there's nothing in the way of the slide, and it comes in smoothly and evenly. You're going to wait until you see it almost to the end. The end of the bed should be right there at the end of the cupboards, and you will hear the motor change and you'll take your finger off the button. The same thing applies for the large slide. Make sure that this area is totally clear, that you don't have any luggage, do not have any kids sitting on any of the couches, and then you're going to go ahead and retract. And just like the one in the master bedroom, you're going to wait till it appears like it's almost all the way in, and you're going to listen for the motor to change tone. You're going to take your finger off and it is fully retracted. One more note about utilizing the slides. This is a very common item in RVs to break. They are very, very expensive, and if they break while they're on your trip, as long as they're functional when they leave our lot, it's on the renter to take care of that. So be very careful with them. Another thing to note is you always want to have the slides deployed on a level surface. You don't want to deploy the slides if the RV is on a hill, in either direction, front or back or side to side, because it'll put undue stress on the tracks and on the motor. The last bit of advice on the slides is do not allow children to operate the slides unless you don't mind losing your deposit and possibly paying a lot more money. Children should not utilize or should not activate most of the controls on the RV because they don't tend to understand how delicate and how easily some of these systems can break and how people can potentially get injured by them. All of our RVs are equipped with window coverings. Each of them are a little bit different, but this accordion style operates on tension. I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. They have two strings that come down on either side that hold tension to the entire shade. To pull it up, all you do is grab the center and lift. And you can lift it all the way to the top. It will stay wherever you stop it. To pull it down, all you do is pull it down. Now, these can be broken very easily if you're monkeying on them, if you step on one of them, or if you're treating them roughly. If for some reason they won't stay up or go down, you can adjust it right here on these little knobs by tightening and tensioning the string a little tighter. But don't over tighten it, because if you do, you run the risk of pulling these out of the wall. Again, as we've mentioned before, these are not items that you should allow children to adjust, as it's very common for them to break them, and then you'll have an expensive repair bill to deal with. If your RV is equipped with an awning, the control will be located at this control panel right here. In order to send the controller out, you push this direction to out. In order to retract it, you press this direction for in. Now, RV awnings are one of the most common items that break on the RV. So we recommend that you don't use the awning unless you absolutely have to. And then if you do use the awning, you must follow a couple of rules. First, never put the awning out unattended. Even if it's for 5 minutes, do not leave the awning unattended. Second, always make sure that there are no obstacles around the awning when it is being extended. Third, never ever put the awning out unless the day is very, very calm. Even the slightest amount of wind will quickly tear the awning off or damage the awning beyond repair. And awning repairs are very costly, typically ranging between $2,000 and $2,500 per awning. We're going to put out this awning now. So first we're going to open up the door and we're going to lean out and check for obstructions. Next, we're going to press the out button while we are watching the awning extend. We're watching to see if either of the arms on either end of the awning get caught or hung up or don't come out evenly. In the event that they get stuck or don't come out evenly, all you have to do is go out and typically shake the support that isn't coming out properly, and it will typically release and start going in sync with the other arm. If that doesn't happen, then press the retract button, bring the awning in tight again, and try it again. If you can't get the awning to go out, rather than risk damaging the awning, it's better to leave it and let us take care of it when you get back. In this model, the shower is to my right. Now, the shower functions just like any shower that you would have at your home. You pull out on the knob and you turn it to the left or the right to get hot or cold. It's very simple. One thing to note with a tankless water heater is that you do not operate the hot and cold from the shower. You set the temperature at the tankless water heater control panel, and then you come back here and you turn the hot water to full hot. If you try to regulate between hot and cold, it will diminish the flow and the water heater will not sense it and it will turn off. So again, you do not adjust the water temperature from the shower control. If you want a hot shower, you adjust it from the water heater control panel up by the coach door. Moving into the rest of the bathroom, this 6320 has a cool feature where the door behind me has a magnet on it, so it'll hold itself closed to give you an extra room for changing. Now here is the toilet. and the bathroom sink. The bathroom sink operates just like any bathroom sink. You have the hot water, you have the cold water. We have two types of water heaters on our RVs. A tanked water heater, which operates very similar to the water heater that most people have in their house, only with a smaller tank, about 6 gallons, or a tankless water heater. This particular model has a tankless water heater. So this is the procedure for utilizing a tankless. First, you're going to come to the control panel. You're going to turn on the water pump. You're going to hear it pump for a minute and then turn off. That means that the system is pressurized. Next, you will turn on the water heater. You'll hear a beep and you'll see this light up. Now this light doesn't necessarily stay on the whole time, but it does typically indicate when you turn it on that there is power. After you have done these two things, you come over to this panel right here. This is the tankless water heater control. Some people get this confused for the thermostat, for the air conditioner and the heater inside the RV, but that's not what this is. It has several functions. One, it shows the ambient temperature of the water in the tank. As you can see, the water inside this tank is very warm. Then it has an up button. That sets the temperature that you want the water to come out of the tap at. You can lower it by pushing this. In order for the water heater to turn on, the temperature that you want it to be must be higher than the temperature inside the tank. There's also, you can switch between Fahrenheit and Celsius, and then there's a power switch that can actually turn this off. We're going to turn this on. You can then come to any of the sinks within the RV and it will produce hot water. Now, it's a tankless, and they say that tankless water heaters produce instant hot water. In RVs, that's not quite the case. Tankless water heaters actually use a lot of water, and so they're not wonderful if you are camping off-grid and don't have a ready water supply, because it takes quite a little bit of water for it to heat up. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to open up this on full hot. Next, you're going to come over to the tankless water heater control and you're going to see three things. One, that you have good flow. Two, that the cooling fan of the heater is running. And three, that you have flame indicating that it is heating. Then you will see the temperature of the water increasing to the temperature that you have set. You should be able to come over here and put your hand under the water and feel it getting hot. Now it'll go to the temperature that you have set. So it can get really hot, so don't burn yourself. Now, if you do not have a thermostat on the wall somewhere close to this control panel, that indicates that you have a tanked water heater, or a water heater that has a tank, very similar to the water heater at your house. The biggest difference is that it's only about 6 gallons. Now, the way to turn on a tanked water heater is, number one, you're going to turn on your water pump. Then you're going to listen for it to stop, and then the water heater, just like that. Once you've done this, set it and forget it. The water heater will be on, and it will be heating until it reaches a temperature, then it will stop. One thing to remember is that if you leave this on, it will just continue to heat and heat the water heater just like at your home, and you'll use a lot of propane. So I suggest, if you're not going to use it, turn it off. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to heat up. Use it, and then when you're done using it, go ahead and turn it off. This is an RV toilet. It does not operate like your toilet at home. It has water that will help rinse out what's inside of it, and it has a foot pedal. It is very important that you only put RV or marine grade toilet paper in an RV toilet. If you put wet wipes or paper towels or any other kind of toilet paper, it will clog up the toilet. And if we have to unclog one of these systems, unfortunately you're going to have to get charged because it's a pain to get that stuff out of the Blackwater tank. Now, you're going to flush the toilet, you're going to press this lever on the side, just like that. It's going to open up and you're going to get water flowing down, and you're going to lift off to close it. A note on these pedals: be very gentle with them. Sometimes the seal can be very strong at the bottom of the toilet, and that's good because it helps keep bad smells from coming in. You can also put a little bit of water, as you can see here, to help keep those smells down in the Blackwater tank. But sometimes that seal gets very stiff. And if you start jumping on this pedal to try to get it to open up, you'll break that pedal. And if you're on the road and that pedal breaks, you no longer have a toilet, because those parts are incredibly difficult to get. Now, in the event that your toilet isn't flushing, you open up the flap and you can see that it's clogged. The best way to unclog that is not with a plunger, because these toilets don't operate like a normal toilet. You need to go out and find yourself a stick or find yourself a long object that you can press the pedal down to open up the flap and gently clear out the clog and get it to drop into the tank. Once it's cleared out, take a lot of care that you don't get whatever's on that stick all over the RV, and carefully take that stick and throw it away in the garbage. That can save you some anguish if you were to get a clog. Another tip: don't use a ton of toilet paper. Too much toilet paper can clog these, even marine toilet paper, to where your waste will not drop down the tube. If you use toilet paper sparingly, you will see a better result. Welcome to the master bedroom of the 6314D Adventurer. In here we've got a queen size bed. We've got electrical outlets. We also have outlets for charging cell phones via USB. There's plenty of storage with wardrobes on both sides and drawers, and plenty of space for everything that you could bring. One of the other nice things about this bedroom is that they include these accordion doors. Now, they come across like this and snap into place, and they give you a bit more privacy. Now, always remember this clip right here. This attaches to the accordion door and keeps it from flopping around while you're driving. If you forget to latch this or you lose this, you will break this accordion door very quickly when you're driving. So always make sure to only disconnect it on one side if you're going to use the door, and leave it connected so that you can just swivel it around and put it in place, and you won't have any problems losing it, and you won't have any problems with a broken door and an expensive repair. In order to heat and cool the RV, you utilize this thermostat. Now, the heater will operate off of the 12-volt batteries. The air conditioner, on the other hand, must run on 120 power. So the RV must be plugged into shore power, or it must have the generator running in order to function. Now, to turn on the air conditioner, you're going to push this bar and you're going to watch until it comes to cool. This says cool high, and you're going to wait, and you'll hear the AC turn on. Now, to turn the AC temperature down, you're going to push there, down. To turn it up, you're going to push it up. Another important thing to note about RV air conditioners is that they are not as efficient as the air conditioner in your car or in your house. They can only cool to about 17 to 22 degrees below the ambient air temperature. So by doing simple math, if it's 110 degrees outside, the RVAC is only going to cool the inside of this coach to about 90 degrees. That's the best you're going to get until the sun goes down and the outside air starts cooling off. Before we get into the heating side, I want to show you something about the AC. Follow me. This unit here is the air handler unit, and it functions in two ways. You can open up these vents and the air will blow down into this area of the RV, which is the living room. If you have a lot of people that are hanging out in this area right here, you can open up those vents and it will cause this area to cool much more quickly. At night though, however, when you're trying to go to bed, the air coming out of the AC will only be cooling this area here. So people in the master bedroom will be getting very hot. Anybody sleeping up there will also be getting very warm. So at night, you want to close these, and that will force the air to come out of the vents in the ceiling here and up front. You can angle these vents in the direction that you want to direct the air. We get a lot of calls from people that tell us that their AC isn't working because they can't feel any air in the master bedroom or up above the cab. And 9 times out of 10, it's because these vents are open and not closed. In cooler temperatures, you may want to heat the RV, and that is also done from the same thermostat. You're going to come to the same bar, you're going to press it, you're going to cycle through the fan, the cool, and you're going to come all the way down to heat. You're going to set your temperature that you want it to heat to. That's got to be warmer than the inside temperature. Because we're warm right now, looks like we will be able to get it up high enough. There we go. We're going to set it to 99 degrees. Now you're going to wait a second. You're going to hear a fan turn on, and then you're going to listen for the burner to ignite. Again, the heater runs off of propane. So before turning on the heater, you do want to make sure that your propane valve has been turned on. Now you're going to go to one of the floor vents, of which there's one right here. You're going to reach down and you're going to feel if there is warm air coming out. If there's warm air coming out, it means that the heater has ignited and is functioning properly. If the heater doesn't ignite properly, then it's going to automatically shut itself off in order to protect from too much propane gas getting into the coach. If for some reason the heater doesn't turn on, the propane is also turned on, and you've cycled through it several times, you can reach out to us for some tech support and we can give you some advice on how to get it running again.